In this lesson, we are going in depth into graphical analysis of objects traveling at uniform velocity. Uniform velocity is also known as constant velocity. It means that the object is not increasing or decreasing its speed. In other words, not accelerating or decelerating. When an object is traveling at uniform velocity, it travels the same distance for every unit of time. In this slide, we have a car traveling at constant speed. It travels a distance of 10 meters every second. When we plot the displacement time graph, we can see that its displacement from the traffic light increases at a constant rate of 10 meters every second. Hence, the graph is an upward sloping straight line. The velocity time graph, on the other hand, is a horizontal straight line because its speed remains constant at 10 meters per second. If we were to calculate the gradient of the graph, we need to take the change in y-axis, that is the change in displacement, divided by the change in x-axis, that is the time taken. However, we have also learned previously that velocity is defined by change in displacement divided by time taken, and that equals the gradient of the displacement time graph. Hence, from a displacement time graph, we can find the velocity by calculating the gradient of the graph. Back to our example, let's look at the velocity time graph. The height of this graph is the velocity or speed. In this case, when there's no change in direction, the velocity is the same as the speed. The breadth of this rectangle is a time duration. The area under the graph is therefore computed by taking the speed multiplied by the time taken. We know that the formula of speed is distance traveled divided by time taken. Rearranging the formula, when we take the speed and multiply by time taken, we get the distance traveled. Yet, multiplying the speed by time taken is actually the area under the velocity time graph. Hence, we can calculate the area under a velocity time graph to determine the distance traveled. In summary, when an object is moving with uniform velocity, the displacement time graph is a straight line. The gradient of the displacement time graph gives the velocity of the object. The velocity time graph for objects moving with uniform velocity is a horizontal straight line. The area under the velocity time graph will give us the distance traveled. You might wonder, what about the gradient of the velocity time graph? You will learn in the next lesson that the gradient of the velocity time graph will give the acceleration of the object. As you can see in this case, the gradient of the graph of an object traveling with uniform speed is 0, indicating that the acceleration is 0. We will cover this in more detail in our next lesson. For now, click on the quiz following this lesson to try out the questions and to reinforce your understanding on this topic. You will also discover how questions are set in examination.